welcome back for a brand new round of box office predictions. As always, we must kick off this video with our Fantasy Movie League recap, and I am mighty excited to report that even though I didn't get a perfect lineup, I was still number 22 in the league, and I don't know, that seems like a good ranking. If you can't tell, I'm pretty pleased with myself right now, but not as pleased as these three individuals must be, because we had three perfect lineups in the league, and those three players are Delmar Dennis, AP, and Devil. Guys, Dewey is so excited. He even joined the video to congratulate you. So again, congratulations. Job well done. As for my rankings and my numbers, I actually did go 5 for 5, but it's a little difficult to be so happy about it because some of my numbers were off. Hobbs Shaw didn't make quite as much as I thought it would, but it did take the top spot with $60 million, and the movie also did very well at the foreign box office. Number 2 went to The Lion King, which held stronger than I predicted, making another $38.5 million. Then at number 3, it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which thankfully I was quite close on. It made $20 million. At number 4, we had Spider-Man Far From Home with a very impressive $7.9 million. And the same goes for Toy Story 4, which continues to hold strong, making another $7.3 million. All right, guys, time to roll into the new round of predictions. And it's a big round because we actually have 5 new wide releases hitting theaters this weekend, and all 5 of them can't crack the top 5. And I don't think anyone ever really expected Brian Banks to, and The Art of Racing in the Rain was kind of on the cusp of even having a chance. The bigger surprise for me with what I'm not including in my top 5 is The Kitchen, especially with that ensemble. But with all 3 of those out of play, that leaves the number 5 spot wide open to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I can't really use the Inglourious Basterds comp again here because weekend 3 of that movie's run fell on Labor Day weekend. But even if I jump ahead to weekend 4, its percent change held pretty well, and that kind of makes me want to keep the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood percent change fairly stagnant, so I'm going to go with a 50% drop for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and if that's what happens, it should be able to hold on to the 5 spot with $10 million. Making our way up the chart now to number 4, that's where I have newcomers, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So this one, the popularity of the book series could help it out. I also thought it was quite good and would recommend it if you want to see it. The thing is, though, looking back over the summer, we haven't really had any runaway horror hits, which does have me concerned for this movie's number. Now, bear with me on this one, and I do have to say, I think that Scary Stories is just quality-wise above and beyond the movie that I'm about to say, but I have to briefly look at Slender Man because it came out right around this time last year. On top of that, it's a PG-13 horror movie. It wound up making about $11 million. I think that's the floor for Scary Stories. It's not going to go below that, but looking at a higher amount, I'm drawn to the movie Truth or Dare. That movie did hit theaters earlier in the year, but it was also a PG-13 horror movie, and I do think they're going to have some audience crossover. But the thing is, $19 million for Scary Stories does seem too high. I want to fall in between these two numbers I just mentioned, which would also put me in the middle of the projected range for Scary Stories. I think I'm going to settle on $16 million for Scary Stories first weekend in theaters. Now it's on to the number 3 spot, and that's where I have the newcomer that I think is going to be the highest earner of the bunch. It's Dora and the Lost City of Gold. There was a point in time when I thought that this one could pop really nicely at the box office. It's the first live-action family-friendly movie we've seen in a little while, especially with a movie like Aladdin falling off the top 5 at this point. But the thing is, there is just so much competition right now. So initially, I was looking at Christopher Robin as a good comp for this one. It also hit theaters in early August. It was based on popular source material. But the thing is, that $24 million opening seems way too high for me right now. So I want to come down a little and come a bit closer to the movie The BFG. That movie opened up with about $19 million. And I think that could be a good number for Dora. So that's what I'm locking in right now. Dora and the Lost City of Gold opens up with $19 million this weekend. Now, of course, that makes my number 2 pick for the weekend, The Lion King. I am inclined not to underestimate this one again. Yes, there is a lot of new competition in play, but when I started to look at Aladdin's run, it gave me a whole lot of faith that The Lion King might hold strong this weekend, because when I go through Aladdin's week-to-week drops, weekend 2, the movie fell 53.2%. Then in weekend 3, it was 42.2%. After that, it had a whole bunch of weekends with its percent change in the 20s, which is so low. Maybe too low for Lion King, but this report here, this trend does make me want to bring Lion King's percent change from last weekend down. So let's say I take that 49.7% drop it had last week and even just bring it down a little, maybe to 45%. That means the movie is making another $21 million this weekend. And finally, that means my number one movie yet again is Hobbs Shaw. Before I even jump into predictions, a little clarification from last week because I made an error. I said that the first Fast and Furious movie is the one that made $70 million. That is actually not the case. It was the fourth one. I guess that's what happens when you call one movie The Fast and the Furious and then another one Fast and Furious. My bad. I'm happy I clarified. Moving on to predicting Hobbs Shaw's number this weekend, though, I have to take a look at Mission Impossible Fallout. That movie hit theaters about the same time last year, and both movies opened up with a very similar amount. So looking at weekend 2 of Fallout, it only dropped 42.3%. I do think that's way too low, though, for Hobbs Shaw, because when I look back at some of the other installments of the Fast and Furious franchise, the more recent ones, they all had fairly large weekend 2 declines, so I am veering in that direction, especially when I look at Hobbs Shaw's early week performance this week. Those numbers just don't signal a strong weekend 2 hold, so I'm going with a pretty big number. I think I want to say something like a 60% dip for Hobbs Shaw this time around, and that would mean it's making another $25 million. All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time to recap these predictions now. Hobbs Shaw is my number one pick with $25 million. Then I've got The Lion King coming in at number 2 with $21 million. Dora and the Lost City of Gold is opening up at number 3 with $19 million. Then it's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark at number 4 with $16 million. And then finally, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has my number 5 position with $10 million. That's it for me. I leave it to you. Hit the comment section below, share your top 5 picks right there, and then head on over to Fantasy Movie League and lock those lineups. Good luck this weekend. Before I say goodbye, we've got some Patreon shoutouts to give. A whole bunch of familiar names right here. They've been with the campaign for a while, so a very special shout out to all of these individuals. They are Charles, Craig, Paul, Andrew, and Corey. Again, guys, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate the support you're giving me, and the same goes to everybody out there. Do not forget to like and share this video, and then tune in next weekend to see how we all did on our box office predictions.